The evening sun was sliding low over the wide Texas plains, painting the sky in deep orange and fading gold. Cole McKinney drove his old pickup down the long dirt road that led back to his ranch. The air was dry, and the smell of dust and sagebrush drifted through the open window. He was a tall, quiet man with tired eyes, the kind of man who had worked the land his whole life. The only sound in the cab was the rattling of his tools in the back and the soft hum of the engine. Cole had spent the entire day checking fences and moving cattle to the east field. Before the storm that was expected tomorrow, he was used to the silence, used to days that ended with no voices but the wind. It had been that way for almost 5 years, ever since his wife Clara passed away. The house had felt empty since then. He still talked to her sometimes, just to keep from forgetting the sound of his own voice. The sun dipped a little lower when he saw something ahead, a flicker of movement on the side of the road. At first he thought it was just a stray animal, or maybe a fallen branch moving in the breeze. But as his truck rolled closer, he noticed it was a small figure standing near a broken wooden wagon. The figure didn't move away as his headlights hit it. Instead, a thin arm lifted weakly, waving. Cole slowed the truck and stopped a few feet away. The dust settled around him as he opened the door and stepped down. The crunch of his boots was the only sound. The figure turned out to be a little girl, no older than 8, wearing a faded pink dress and holding an old cloth doll missing an arm. Her blonde hair was tangled, her cheeks smudged with dirt, and her lips looked dry. But what caught his attention most were her eyes, big, scared, and desperate. "Sir," she said in a soft, trembling voice. She can't walk anymore." Cole followed the direction of her small hand and saw a woman lying beside the wagon. The woman's leg was twisted under her, her face pale and tired. She looked like she'd been walking for miles. Her clothes were simple but torn from travel, her boots worn out. The girl knelt beside her, patting her hand gently. Cole crouched beside the woman. "Ma'am," he said quietly, "can you hear me?" The woman's eyes fluttered open. "We're fine," she whispered, trying to sit up but wincing in pain. "Just need a minute to rest." Cole shook his head. "You need more than a minute." He could see that her ankle was badly swollen. She had probably tried to keep going until she couldn't anymore. He stood up, looking at the wagon. The wheel was broken. One spoke cracked clean through. The horse that had been pulling it was nowhere to be seen. Maybe it had run off. There was a half-empty water jug lying on its side and a small bag of clothes. Whoever they were, they'd been traveling hard and didn't have much left. The little girl looked up at him again. Her voice was small but steady. "Mama said we'll be fine, sir. We just need to get to town." Cole looked down the road. The nearest town was more than 15 miles away. He knew they'd never make it on foot. He took a slow breath and nodded. "All right," he said simply. "Let's get you both out of here." The girl blinked, unsure what he meant. Before she could ask, Cole bent down and gently slid his arms under the woman's shoulders and knees. She gasped, startled, but he lifted her easily. His muscles strained from the day's work, but he didn't hesitate. The woman clung weakly to his arm as he carried her toward the truck. "Don't you worry," he said quietly. "You'll be fine." He set her carefully on the truck seat, then turned back for the girl. She stood frozen for a second, holding her doll tight, then ran after him. Cole reached out his hand and she took it without thinking. Her hand was so small in his rough palm. "Up you go," he said softly, lifting her beside her mother. She looked back once at the wagon and then at him. "We'll come back for it later," he said. "Right now you two need rest." He closed the door, walked around to the driver's side and started the engine. The old truck rattled but obeyed. As they began to move, the girl pressed close to her mother, watching the road ahead through tired eyes. The woman leaned her head against the window, whispering something he couldn't hear. For a long while, no one spoke. The road stretched endlessly across the dry land. The little girl finally broke the silence. "Sir, what's your name?" "Cole," he said after a pause. "Cole McKinney." She nodded slowly. "I'm Lucy," she said softly. "And that's Mama. Her name's Anna." Cole nodded. "Nice to meet you, Lucy." The girl smiled a little, just enough to show a missing tooth. "You have horses?" "Got a few," he said, glancing at her through the rearview mirror. "You like horses?" She nodded again. "Mama says they're like angels with strong legs." Cole almost smiled. It was the first time he'd heard something gentle in a long while. He looked at the girl and for a moment, He saw his wife's old smile reflected in that innocent face, the way Clara used to look when she talked about the foals being born. By the time they reached the ranch, the sun had vanished behind the hills. The sky had turned purple and the first stars were showing. Cole parked near the porch and climbed out. He opened the passenger door and lifted Anna again, as gently as before. She protested weakly. "You don't have to." "I know," he said, cutting her off softly, "but I will." He carried her inside through the quiet front room that smelled of old wood and coffee. He laid her on the sofa near the fire and brought out a blanket. The girl followed close behind, holding her doll and staring around wide-eyed. Cole filled a glass of water and handed it to Anna. Then he knelt beside her ankle. "Looks bad," he murmured. "You need rest. I'll bring you something for it." Anna tried to speak, but her voice cracked. "Thank you. We didn't mean to trouble anyone." "You didn't," he said simply. "You needed help. That's all." He went to the kitchen and came back with a damp cloth and a small bottle of liniment. He wrapped her ankle carefully, his rough hands moving with surprising gentleness. When he was done, he looked up and found the girl watching him. "Can I help, sir?" she asked quietly. He shook his head. "You already did." "You found me." Lucy smiled shyly, then looked toward the fire. "It's warm," she said softly. "We haven't been warm in a long time." Cole didn't answer. He stood up and added another log to the flames. The crackle filled the silence, soft and steady. Later, when Anna had fallen asleep, Lucy curled up beside her mother with the doll in her arms. Cole stood near the doorway, his hat in his hand, watching them breathe. The house, once empty and echoing, felt different. Not louder, but alive in a quiet way. Outside, the wind picked up, carrying the scent of rain. Cole stepped onto the porch, looking out into the night. He could still see the broken wagon out there in the dark somewhere, but he didn't worry about it. What mattered was that two strangers were safe under his roof. He took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. The loneliness that had followed him for years didn't feel quite so heavy tonight. He didn't know who they were or where they came from, and he didn't need to. All he knew was that a little girl had stood in the dust and called for help, and he had answered. And for the first time in a long while, the rancher's quiet world had changed. Not through words, but through one simple act of kindness. The morning sun slipped gently through the curtains, laying soft light across the old ranch house. The smell of coffee drifted through the air, mixing with the quiet crackle of the dying fire. Cole McKinney stood by the stove, his sleeves rolled up, making breakfast like he hadn't done for anyone in years. He moved slowly, careful not to make noise. Behind him, the sound of a small voice broke the silence. "Good morning, sir." He turned and saw Lucy standing at the edge of the kitchen. Her hair was messy, her doll still tucked under her arm. She was barefoot, the floor cold beneath her small feet. Cole nodded. "Morning," he said softly. "Your mama still asleep?" Lucy nodded. "She's resting. You fixed her ankle real good. She says it doesn't hurt much now." Cole gave a small smile. "That's good. She'll be up and walking in a few days if she keeps resting." He pointed toward the table. "Sit down. You can help me with breakfast." Her face brightened. She ran to the chair, climbed up, and watched as he cracked eggs into a pan. The sizzle made her giggle. She asked questions about everything: the pan, the fire, the horses she had seen outside. Cole answered each one with quiet patience, not used to so many words filling his kitchen. When breakfast was ready, he carried 2 plates to the table and set one in front of Lucy. She clasped her hands before eating, bowing her head for a moment. Cole didn't interrupt. When she looked up, she smiled. "Mama always says we should thank God when kind people help us." Cole said nothing for a few seconds, then nodded. "Your mama's right." They ate quietly. The little girl talked between bites, telling him how they used to live near a small town where her mother worked in a sewing shop. "Then the shop closed," she said softly, "and we had to leave. Mama said there would be work down south, but the horse got tired, and then—" She looked down, pushing food around with her fork. Cole didn't ask more. He knew what it meant to lose something important. When they finished, he stood up and took her plate. "You can go check on your mama now," he said gently. Lucy jumped down and hurried to the living room. Cole followed a minute later, carrying a mug of coffee. Anna was sitting up now, her leg still wrapped but her face less pale. She looked at him as he came in. "You've done too much already," she said. "We'll be gone as soon as I can stand." Cole leaned against the doorway. "You're not going anywhere till that leg's better." he said calmly. There's work to do here if you're worried about it. You can help with the small things when you're strong enough. Anna looked like she wanted to argue, but then her shoulders dropped. She gave a quiet nod. Thank you, she said softly. We'll do what we can to repay you. Cole waved a hand. You don't owe me a thing. He turned to go, but Lucy ran up and tugged his sleeve. Can I see the horses, sir? He glanced at the clock, then at her eager face. All right, he said finally. But you stay close to me. They're gentle, but they're big. Outside, the air smelled of hay and sunlight. The barn stood tall and weathered, its doors creaking open with a groan. Inside, the horses stirred and snorted softly when they saw him. Lucy's eyes widened as she looked around. They're so beautiful, she whispered. Cole smiled faintly. This one here's named Rusty, he said, patting the neck of a chestnut mare. And that big one's Thunder. He's been here longer than I have. Lucy reached out her small hand, hesitating before touching Rusty's nose. The horse leaned forward, sniffed, and then let her pet him. She laughed, the sound echoing through the barn like music. Cole hadn't heard laughter like that in a long time. Can I feed him? She asked. Cole handed her a handful of hay. Go on, he said. Just keep your fingers flat. She followed his instructions carefully, her face glowing when the horse took the hay gently from her hand. Cole watched quietly. Something inside him softened as he saw her joy. He realized how long it had been since anyone had filled the ranch with such simple happiness. When they walked back to the house, the wind had picked up a little, bringing the scent of rain. Cole checked the clouds forming to the west. Storm's coming, he murmured. We'll need to bring in the laundry and close the barn doors later. Lucy looked up. We can help. Cole smiled. We'll see about that. By afternoon, the sky darkened and thunder rolled in the distance. Lucy helped him gather firewood and carried small logs inside while Cole worked outside securing the barn. When the first drops began to fall, they both ran to the porch. Lucy was laughing, her hair sticking to her cheeks. Cole shook his hat dry and chuckled quietly. Inside, Anna was sitting by the fire with a blanket over her legs. She smiled when she saw them. You two look like you wrestled the rain itself, she said softly. Lucy ran to her mother and hugged her. Cole set the wood by the fireplace and nodded. We'll be dry soon enough. That evening, as the rain came down harder, the three of them sat near the fire. The sound of thunder filled the gaps between their words. Cole brewed tea and Lucy told stories about the dolls she had lost along the road. Anna listened, sometimes smiling, sometimes quiet, her eyes thoughtful. After a while, Anna looked at Cole. You live alone here? She asked gently. He nodded. For a while now. I'm sorry, she said softly. He shrugged. It's just how life goes. The land doesn't stop for grief. Anna studied his face. She could tell there was more behind those words. A past that he didn't talk about. A silence that wasn't just habit, but memory. She wanted to ask, but his steady eyes made her stop. Lucy leaned against her mother's arm, yawning. Mama, he's nice. He helped the horses and didn't even shout when I dropped the bucket. Cole smiled faintly. You did fine. When Lucy finally fell asleep, Anna tucked the blanket around her and whispered, She hasn't slept so peacefully in weeks. Cole looked at the child's face, then back at Anna. She's a strong little girl, he said. Gets that from you. Anna smiled faintly. Maybe. But she deserves more than I can give right now. Cole didn't know what to say to that. He poked at the fire with a stick and watched the sparks rise. The rain softened outside, turning into a steady whisper. Rest, he said finally. You both need it. Tomorrow will be better. Anna nodded. Good night, Mr. McKinney. Just Cole, he said quietly. She gave a small smile before closing her eyes. Cole sat there for a long time, listening to the rain and the quiet breathing of the two travelers. He thought about the road they had come from, the miles of empty land and cold nights they must have walked through. Something inside him ached, not just for them, but for all the years he had spent trying not to feel anything at all. The storm passed by midnight, leaving the air clean and cool. When Cole stepped outside to check the sky, the clouds were breaking apart, revealing bright stars above the dark hills. He stood there a long time, his hat in his hands, feeling something he hadn't felt in years, the sense that maybe, just maybe, the silence of his life was beginning to fade. When he finally went back inside, he paused at the doorway. The firelight danced softly across the room. Anna was asleep on the couch, Lucy curled close beside her, both safe and warm. Cole stood there quietly, his eyes softening. Then he whispered to the empty air as if to someone who was no longer there. "Clara, you'd like them." He turned off the lamp and went upstairs, the sound of the wind easing outside. For the first time in years, the ranch didn't feel empty. There was life again, fragile, unexpected, but real. And though Cole McKinney didn't say it out loud, deep down he knew. Something had changed the moment that little girl raised her hand on the dusty road and said, "She can't walk anymore, sir." The morning after the storm was calm. The sky was pale blue and the air smelled clean, washed by the night rain. The ranch looked fresh, every blade of grass shining with tiny drops of water. Cole McKinney stepped out onto the porch with his coffee mug, watching the horses graze in the far field. It had been a long time since he'd seen the ranch this peaceful, or felt it that way inside. Behind him, the door creaked open softly. Little Lucy came out, rubbing her eyes, her hair a mess of curls. She carried her doll, now clean from the wash Anna had done the night before. "Good morning, sir," she said in her soft, sleepy voice. Cole turned with a faint smile. "Morning, Lucy. You sleep well?" She nodded. "Mama says she feels better today. Can I feed the horses again?" He took a sip of coffee and nodded. "You sure can, but eat something first." She grinned and ran back inside. Cole smiled quietly to himself and shook his head. The child's energy filled the house like sunlight through an open window. For years he had lived in silence, never realizing how heavy it had become until it was gone. When Lucy and Anna came out later, Anna was leaning on a wooden cane Cole had found in the barn. Her ankle was still wrapped, but not as swollen. The morning light touched her face gently, making her look stronger than she had a few days ago. "You shouldn't be walking too much," Cole said, setting down his mug. Anna smiled. "I can't sit still forever, Mr. McKinney. You've done more for us than anyone ever has." "I can't just lie around, Cole," he corrected softly. "Just Cole?" She hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "All right then, Cole, but at least let me help with something. I can cook, sew, or keep the house tidy. I don't like feeling useless." He thought for a moment, then shrugged. "There's always something to do. You can start by keeping an eye on this one." He nodded toward Lucy, who was already running toward the barn. Anna laughed quietly. "That might be the hardest job on the ranch." Cole smiled, then walked toward the fence to check the posts. Anna watched him go, noticing the steady strength in his movements. There was something about him, quiet, rough around the edges, but kind in a way few men were. Lucy spent the morning helping Cole again. She brought feed for the horses and tried to sweep the barn floor, though the broom was almost taller than she was. Every time she missed a spot, Cole bent down and showed her how to do it properly. She listened carefully, eager to please. "Why do you live all alone?" she asked suddenly. Cole paused. "Just turned out that way," he said softly. She tilted her head. "Didn't you have a family?" For a moment he didn't answer. The only sound was the rustle of hay and the soft snort of a horse nearby. Then he said quietly, "I did. My wife, Clara. She passed a few years back." Lucy's eyes grew sad. "I'm sorry, sir." Cole nodded once, his gaze fixed on the horse. "Thank you, kid." She loved this ranch. Always said it felt alive. Guess she wasn't wrong. Lucy didn't know what to say, so she just took his hand and gave it a small squeeze. Cole looked down at her, surprised, then smiled softly. "You're a good kid, Lucy." By noon, the sun was warm again. Anna had cooked a simple lunch, eggs, bread, and beans, and insisted Cole sit at the table with them. He hadn't eaten with anyone in years. As they ate, Lucy talked about everything she'd seen around the ranch, from the rabbits behind the barn to the hawk that flew overhead. "You talk as much as the wind," Cole said with a chuckle. Anna smiled at that, shaking her head. "She gets that from her father." "Where's he now?" Cole asked gently. Anna's smile faded a little. "He passed last winter," she said softly. "Got sick when the cold came. There was no doctor close enough." She didn't look up when she spoke. Lucy stared at her food quietly, her little fingers tracing circles on the table. "I'm sorry," Cole said. His voice was calm, respectful. Anna nodded. "That's life. We just keep moving." They ate in silence for a while. After lunch, Anna helped wash the dishes while Cole went outside to fix a broken water pipe. Lucy followed him again, helping in small ways, handing him tools, asking questions. and laughing when he pretended to be confused about which wrench was which. By late afternoon, the repairs were done and they all sat on the porch. The sky had turned a golden color and a cool breeze swept across the open land. It was the kind of evening that made the world feel endless and calm. Anna sat quietly, watching the horizon. "It's beautiful here," she said softly. "I can see why you stayed," Cole nodded. "It's home. Been in my family since my granddad's time. Hard to walk away from something that carries your blood in the soil." Anna looked at him for a long moment. "Still, it must get lonely." Cole's eyes stayed on the horizon. "It used to," he said. "Not so much lately," she smiled faintly. "You mean since a pair of strays wandered into your yard?" He chuckled. "Something like that." Lucy leaned against her mother's arm, sleepy but content. The sound of crickets began to rise as the sun slipped lower. For the first time in months, Anna felt safe, truly safe. There was no rush, no fear, no hunger waiting at the edge of night. After dinner, Cole showed Lucy how to brush the horses properly. He handed her a soft brush and told her to move slow and steady. She worked carefully, whispering to the horse as if it could understand her. "You've got a gentle hand," Cole said. "Animals can tell when someone's kind." Lucy looked up. "Mama says kindness makes people stronger." He nodded. "She's right about that." When the chores were done, Lucy ran inside to tell her mother about everything she had learned. Cole stayed behind for a moment, leaning on the fence. The sky was full of stars now, bright and clear. He could hear the laughter coming from the house, light, pure, and full of life. He hadn't realized how much he missed that sound. Later that night, after Lucy was asleep, Anna stepped onto the porch. She was wearing one of Cole's old flannel shirts over her dress, her hair tied back loosely. "You've done too much for us," she said softly. "I don't know how to thank you." Cole shook his head. "Don't need thanks. Just glad you're both all right." She leaned against the railing. "You could have kept driving that day." "Most people would have." He looked out into the dark field. "Maybe, but something told me to stop. Guess that's all there was to it." Anna was quiet for a while, then said, "You've got a good heart, Cole." He gave a small smile but didn't answer. The night air was cool, carrying the faint smell of sage and rain-soaked earth. After a moment, she turned to go back inside. "Good night," she said softly. "Good night," he replied. As the door closed behind her, Cole stayed where he was, listening to the faint sound of the wind and the crickets. He didn't know what would happen next, if they would stay or if they'd leave once Anna was fully healed. But for now, he didn't think about that. For now, the ranch wasn't silent anymore. The rooms had voices, laughter, and life again. And for a man who had thought his best days were behind him, that was more than enough. He looked up at the stars, remembering the little girl's voice on that dusty road. Small, scared, but full of hope. "She can't walk anymore, sir." Those words had brought him back to life in ways he never expected. The days passed quietly on the ranch, each one bringing a little more life back into the old house. The mornings began with the smell of coffee and bread instead of silence. The afternoons were filled with the sound of Lucy's laughter echoing through the barn. Evenings were soft, with the glow of lamplight spilling from the kitchen window, as Anna cooked and Cole fixed small things around the house. It was a kind of peace Cole hadn't known in years. Anna was healing well. She could walk short distances now without the cane, though she still limped slightly. She refused to stay idle. Every morning she swept the porch, helped with meals, and tended to the garden near the well. Cole had tried to stop her at first, but she smiled and said, "I need to feel useful." He didn't argue after that. Lucy followed Cole everywhere. She had become his little helper, carrying feed buckets, handing him tools, and even learning how to ride Thunder with his careful guidance. Her laughter had become the heartbeat of the ranch. Whenever she was gone for even a few minutes, the silence felt heavier, as if the air itself missed her. One afternoon, the three of them were sitting on the porch. The sun was warm and the field stretched endlessly in front of them. Cole had just finished mending a saddle, and Anna was sewing a torn shirt. Lucy sat on the steps feeding crumbs to a small bird that had hopped near her feet. "Your place is beautiful," Anna said after a while, looking out across the open land. Cole nodded slowly. "It's been in my family a long time. My father ran it before me. He always said this land tests you, makes you honest. Do you ever think of leaving?" she asked, He took a moment before answering. I did once. After Clara passed. Thought I'd sell it and go somewhere far away. But every time I packed, something stopped me. Maybe it was the thought that she'd still be here, in the wind or the grass. Hard to walk away from that. Anna looked down at her hands. I understand, she said softly. When you lose someone, you hold on to anything that reminds you of them. They sat in quiet for a while. The only sound was the wind moving through the tall grass. Then Lucy's voice broke the silence. Mama, can we stay here forever? Anna looked at her daughter, startled. Lucy, Cole glanced over, curious. I mean, Lucy continued shyly. We can help Mr. Cole with the horses in the garden. I like it here. It feels like home. Anna opened her mouth to reply, but her voice caught. She looked at Cole, unsure what to say. Cole smiled faintly. It's not up to me, kid, he said gently. That's between you and your mama. Lucy pouted but nodded. Okay, but I still wish we could. That night, after Lucy had gone to bed, Anna stepped out to the porch again. The moon was bright, casting silver light over the fields. Cole was sitting in his usual chair, sharpening a tool quietly. She really likes it here, Anna said softly. He nodded. I know she's a good kid. She's happier than I've seen her in a long time, Anna continued. You've given her peace, Mr. McKinney. Cole, he corrected again, his voice low. Cole, she repeated, smiling. You've helped us more than you know. He put the tool aside and leaned back. It's strange, he said after a moment. I thought I was helping you both. But truth is, you've helped me too. This place was too quiet before you came. Anna looked down, her eyes soft. Sometimes people cross paths for a reason, she said quietly. He didn't answer, but he looked at her for a long moment before turning back to the open land. The following morning brought new challenges. The pump near the east well had stopped working, and Cole needed to repair it before the cattle went thirsty. Anna insisted on helping despite her limp. You don't have to, he began, but she cut him off with a grin. You keep saying that. Let me do something, Cole. I can hold the parts or hand you tools. I promise I won't break anything. He couldn't argue with that. They walked together to the well, the air already warming under the morning sun. Lucy followed close behind, skipping along and humming to herself. It took nearly 2 hours to fix the pump. Cole worked on the bolts while Anna wiped the parts clean and Lucy fetched water. By the time the pump sputtered back to life, spraying cool water into the trough, all three of them were laughing. See, Anna said proudly. Told you I wouldn't break anything. Cole chuckled, wiping sweat from his brow. Guess I should put you on the payroll. I'll take payment and coffee, she said playfully. Lucy clapped her hands. And cookies. Cole laughed, shaking his head. Cookies it is. The days grew warmer as spring stretched toward summer. The ranch began to bloom again. Flowers near the fence line, the grass turning a deeper green, and the animals looking healthier than ever. It was as if the land itself felt their presence and responded in kind. But one evening, while Cole was closing the barn doors, a pickup truck rolled up the dirt road. He looked up, surprised. Few people ever came this far. The truck stopped near the porch and a man in a dusty hat stepped out. He looked rough and tired, with eyes that shifted quickly between Cole and the house. Evening, the stranger said. Name's Harris. I'm looking for a woman named Anna. You seen her? Cole's jaw tightened. He didn't answer right away. What for? The man frowned. She worked in Mill Creek a while back. Owes me some money. From inside the house, Anna stepped out slowly. Her face went pale when she saw him. Mr. Harris, she said quietly. You shouldn't be here. The man crossed his arms. You left town without paying what you owed. You think I wouldn't find you? Cole took a step forward, his voice calm but firm. That's enough. You can take your business somewhere else, Harris sneered. And who are you supposed to be? Cole didn't move. The man who's telling you to leave. The tension hung heavy in the air. Lucy peeked out from behind her mother, clutching her doll tightly. Anna stood frozen, unsure what to do. Harris glanced between them, then spit in the dirt. Fine, but this ain't over, he muttered, turning back to his truck. You'll regret this, lady. He drove off, leaving a trail of dust behind. Cole waited until the truck disappeared over the hill before turning to Anna. You all right? He asked quietly. She nodded shakily. He used to be my employer. I borrowed money after my husband died. I meant to pay him back, but we lost everything. Cole's expression softened. You don't owe that man a thing now. You're safe here. Tears filled Anna's eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. Cole nodded once and looked out at the dark road. "No one's going to bother you here." That night the ranch was silent again, but it wasn't the same kind of silence as before. It was a protective silence, strong, steady, like the ground itself had drawn a line no one could cross. Later, when Lucy fell asleep, Anna stood by the window watching the stars. Cole was outside, walking the fence line with a lantern. She watched him move through the soft light and felt something in her chest. Not fear or worry, but something warmer. She whispered to herself, "Maybe he's the reason we were led here." Outside, Cole looked up at the same sky, unaware that inside the house, two people he had rescued had already begun to heal not just from the road, but from life itself. And for the first time in years, he didn't feel alone under the stars. The days that followed the visit from Harris were quiet again, though the air on the ranch carried a different kind of calm, not the empty stillness that once filled Cole's world, but a gentle peace that felt alive. The morning light found its way through the kitchen window, landing on Anna as she kneaded dough at the counter, her sleeves rolled up and a small smile on her face. Lucy sat at the table, drawing shapes in the flour dust with her finger, humming softly. Cole came in from the barn, wiping his hands on a rag. He stopped for a moment at the doorway, just watching them. It felt strange, how something so simple could warm a heart that had been cold for so long. "Breakfast smells good," he said. Anna looked over her shoulder, smiling. "It's the least I can do. You've done more for us than I can repay." "Don't talk about owing me," Cole said gently. "You both brought life back to this place." Lucy grinned. "Mama says we should make biscuits for you every morning." Cole chuckled, sitting at the table. "If that's part of the deal, I won't argue." They ate together, talking and laughing like they had done this for years instead of weeks. Every now and then, Cole caught himself glancing at Anna, the way her eyes softened when she looked at her daughter, or how her laugh carried a quiet strength. She had been through so much, yet she carried herself with grace. After breakfast, Cole took Lucy out to teach her how to ride Thunder properly. The big horse stood calm, his brown coat glinting in the sun. Lucy looked both excited and nervous. "I'm scared I'll fall," she admitted. "You won't," Cole said, steadying her foot in the stirrup. "Thunder's smarter than most folks I know. He won't let you fall if you trust him." Lucy giggled and climbed up, holding the reins tight. Cole walked beside her as the horse started moving slowly around the corral. "See? You're doing fine." Anna watched from the porch, her heart full. She hadn't seen her daughter smile like that since before her husband died. The sight of her little girl laughing again, and Cole walking patiently beside her, stirred something deep inside her. When they returned, Lucy jumped off the horse and ran to her mother. "Mama, I did it. I really did it." Anna hugged her tightly. "I'm so proud of you, sweetheart." Cole leaned against the fence, smiling. "She's a natural," he said quietly. Anna looked at him, her voice soft. "You've been so kind to her. I don't know how to thank you." Cole looked down, brushing dust off his gloves. "You don't have to. I just did what anyone decent would do." But Anna shook her head. "No, Cole. Not everyone would have stopped that day. Not everyone would have cared." He didn't answer, but something in his eyes showed her that her words had reached him. As days passed, the bond between them deepened. It wasn't something they spoke about. It lived in the small moments. The way Cole fixed the loose shutter outside Anna's window without being asked. The way Anna left a warm cup of coffee by his tools every morning. The way Lucy followed him like a shadow, trusting him completely. Summer approached. The air grew warmer, the evenings longer. One night a letter arrived, a rare thing for the quiet ranch. It was from a nearby town offering Anna work at a small school, sewing uniforms for the children. The pay wasn't much, but it was honest work and a roof of her own. When Anna read it aloud at the table, Lucy's smile faded. "Does that mean we have to leave?" Anna hesitated. "It's a good job, Lucy. We can't depend on Mr. McKinney forever." Cole stayed quiet, looking at his plate. He knew she was right. Still, the thought of them leaving made something tighten in his chest. Lucy looked between them, her eyes filling with tears. "But I don't want to go. Please, Mama. Can't we stay?" Anna reached over, pulling her daughter close. "Sweetheart, we have to do what's right. We can't stay forever in someone else's home." Cole stood and walked to the window. "You don't have to decide tonight," he said softly. "Sleep on it. That night, the house felt heavier. Anna couldn't sleep. She sat by the window watching the stars. When she heard footsteps on the porch, she stepped outside and found Cole sitting there, hat in hand, staring into the darkness. "I'm sorry about the letter," she said quietly. He shook his head. "Don't be. You need a new start. Can't stay tied to this place just because it's easy." "It's not about easy," she said. "It's about what feels right. And this place feels right. But I can't be a burden." He looked at her then, his eyes steady. "You're not a burden, Anna. You and Lucy. You're the reason this ranch feels alive again." She swallowed hard, emotions rising. "You say that like it matters to you." He nodded slowly. "It does." For a long time, neither spoke. The only sound was the night wind brushing through the grass. Then Anna said softly, "You're a good man, Cole McKinney. Maybe the best I've known." He gave a faint smile. "I don't know about that. But thank you." The next morning, the sun rose golden over the fields. Lucy was already outside feeding the chickens, pretending nothing had changed. Anna packed quietly, folding clothes into a small bag. Cole stood near the doorway, hands in his pockets. "You sure about this?" he asked. Anna nodded, though her voice was soft. "I need to give her stability. It's time." He looked at the floor. "I understand." When everything was ready, Lucy ran into the kitchen, her face pale. "Do we have to go, Mama?" Anna knelt down, hugging her tightly. "Yes, sweetheart. We have to." Cole helped carry their bags to the truck. The same truck that had brought them here now waited to take them away. The sight of it made Lucy start to cry. Cole knelt beside her. "Hey, don't cry now. You're strong, remember? You'll do great in town." She sniffled and wiped her eyes. "Will you miss us?" He looked at her, his voice low and honest. "More than you'll ever know." Anna stood nearby, her hands twisting in her dress. She tried to smile, but it wavered. "Thank you for everything, Cole. You saved us when no one else would." He nodded once. "You saved me too." For a moment they just stood there, the morning wind tugging at their clothes. Then Cole did something unexpected. He stepped forward and lifted Lucy into his arms, just like he had the first day they met. She laughed through her tears, holding onto his neck. Then, gently, he helped her into the truck and turned to Anna. "Take care of yourself," he said quietly. She looked up at him, eyes glistening. "You too, Cole, and thank you." "For everything," he nodded. "You always have a place here." Anna hesitated, then reached out and took his hand. "Goodbye," she whispered. "Goodbye," he said. He watched as the truck rolled down the dusty road, growing smaller until it disappeared over the hill. The sound of the engine faded, leaving only the wind and the rustle of grass. Cole stood there for a long time, staring at the empty road. The ache in his chest was deep, but it wasn't the same kind of emptiness he used to know. It was something else, and something bittersweet. Days later, he received a letter. It was written in neat handwriting. "Dear Mr. Cole, Lucy has started school and talks about the ranch every day. She misses the horses and your stories. I hope the land is kind to you as you were kind to us. You'll always have a place in our prayers. Anna." Cole folded the letter carefully and tucked it into his coat pocket. That evening, he walked out to the porch as the sun dipped low behind the hills. The ranch was quiet again, but not lonely. He looked out at the golden fields, the same place where a little girl had once waved for help and said, "She can't walk anymore, sir." He smiled softly. Life had its own way of healing broken souls. And though they were gone, a part of them would always stay, in the laughter that still echoed faintly in his memory, in the warmth of the house, and in the peace that finally lived in his heart. The rancher lifted his hat to the wind and whispered to the fading light, "Thank you. Both of you." And as the sky turned to gold, Cole McKinney walked back into the house, a man who had given hope and found it too.